who's doing her Gold Award project. I've titled it The Cries of the Golden Land. The question today is, what is genocide and how can we prevent it? I will be taking you through an overview of genocide in history and focusing on the Rohingya Genocide, kind of talk about the international response to the event. I do have a warning. We are doing a lot in about a 40-minute time allotment, so it is going to be a bit heavy, but let's just push through. There's a lot of important information, especially the question of how can we prevent genocide. So let's start with a question, just for you to think about for yourself. Do you know where the country of Myanmar, previously known as Burma, is on a map? Is it in the Eastern Hemisphere or the Western Hemisphere? What region? North America, South America, Asia, Europe? And do you know specifically maybe neighboring countries to Myanmar? Okay, pause if you don't know, and we're gonna move on. I'm gonna tell you the answer. So, in red is Myanmar. It is in Southeast Asia, and it is bordered by, it is bordered by China, Bangladesh, Laos, Thailand, and India. I'm not very good at geography myself. It is also the home country of my mother, who's from Myanmar and grew up there. If you see on the big map, there's us, that little dot on the east coast of North America, and then on the right, that's where Myanmar is. That's the cutout that you're seeing on the screen. So, to be clear, we are not of the Rohingya tribe. I'm actually from the Mon tribe, who is not being prosecuted. But here's my personal account. I went to Myanmar when I was 7, before the military coup and before the genocide. Myanmar was not so divided at the time, it was not so violent, and to just put things in perspective, it's no longer safe for me to visit family in Myanmar. My mother grew up there and she graduated college, so she was there for a very long time. So, I knew as little as you about the Rohingya Genocide. That is nothing. Hence the nothing screen. Until, well, it kind of found me by chance. So I was in Washington, D.C., right? And I was walking through the Holocaust Museum. And after about an hour of trudging through, like, the heavy topic, I kind of turned the corner to exit the museum and was, like, slapped in the face because in big lettering it said, like, Burma. And I was like, I've never seen the word Burma in such big letters. That's so cool, it's in a museum, I want to go check it out. I wander over and it doesn't say what I thought I was going to see. It said Burma's path to genocide. That's a pagoda from Myanmar. It's the beautiful image I have from when I visited Myanmar. And then this is the new image I have of Myanmar. It's just, that's what I saw. Just Burma's path to genocide exhibit. And it's just so disturbing. You're like, wait. No, I'm supposed to know about this country. And clearly I know nothing. That was pretty scary. That was a pretty scary moment for me. To have your mother's country stare at you through a lens of genocide. It was like a seemingly secret genocide within my mother's own country. Which is, here if you forgot. So how? Why? When? Like, I needed to know. And at the time, the exhibit was still being made. So I waited about a year to go back. I went back last December, and I went, like, after having this project decided, and I was like, I need to see the root of where this project even came from. And I spent an hour going through it, and it felt strange. It felt like something I should have known before it became history, if that makes sense. That's the hard part about history. It's already happened, and sometimes you feel responsible when you weren't there when it did. In a long-winded way, that is why I am here today, talking about Myanmar and talking about genocide. So, what is the Rohingya Genocide? Alright, so here's a few bullet points on the Rohingya Genocide. We're not gonna go too deep, I don't think. So they're a persecuted Muslim minority in Myanmar. There are many tribes in Myanmar. Many tribes. But there are also tribes that actually aren't considered official tribes within Myanmar, and the Rohingya are one of them. Long story, during colonization, the Rohingya came into Myanmar, and after the British, after Myanmar became independent, they didn't like that the Rohingya had come in during British colonization. That's the short version. Military violence against the Rohingya citizens. So the military has been violent against the Rohingya, to use a very vague word, violent. And the Rohingya are no longer considered citizens. They actually have attempted to destroy their citizenship paperwork, so in many ways you can consider they aren't citizens, but they lived there for centuries. They were forced out of Myanmar into Bangladesh refugee camps. So as we talked about earlier, Bangladesh is one of the countries that borders Myanmar. So these camps are flooded, they're not in the best conditions. I'll talk about that a little more later. There's media hate propagated by the military government in Myanmar. There was a military coup, took over the democratic government in Myanmar. So now this is military government. And they are kind of using the Rohingya almost like a scapegoat. So like in Facebook and stuff, there's not very nice things being said about the Rohingya. And around this time, the previous president of, this is a lot of information, but hold on. This is like everything I'm going to really be talking about. Myanmar President Aung San Suu Kyi was previously the democratic president of Myanmar. She came to presidency around the time I was a child. She was president around the time I was a child. And she was silent about the Rohingya genocide. She didn't really speak out against it. At best, she excused it as something less than it was. And that was something that the international community, unfortunately, could not condone. Mass grave sites, razed towns, rape, torture, arson, murder, these are the violent words that were so vaguely implied earlier. It's genocide. It's just genocide. It's bad. So, okay, here's a video from the Holocaust Museum, and I think it's really helpful to watch. I hope you can hear it. If not, just watch. That was the video. All right, back to the presentation. Let's stay here for a second. Unlike previous genocides, the Rohingya were able to film the destruction of their homes. I guess the Rohingya genocide hits different for me. I think in many ways different things hit home differently, and I think this is the first time I think the history of genocide really I realized how history is just the present that already happened, and I think it made it more important to me. So I think it's important to recognize terrible things, our ability to fix them and prevent them in the future, and that we are not powerless. In fact, things like this actually empower us because we can see the wrong we've done, but we can recognize it. If we never recognize it, how will we ever fix it? So, are you an artist? I think we can all appreciate artwork. I think in this sense, artwork is healing, but when we look at it from an outside perspective, it's horrible. I mean, these are children's artwork. 40% of the Rohingya in Bangladesh refugee camps are under the age of 12. I mean, this is just a reflection of how hard it is to live this childhood. It's a mirror of terrible conditions. In the refugee camps, they suffer from flooding and overcrowding. They don't have enough material resources for everyone. There's so many refugees. And I think it's really hard to recognize that kids like teenagers have to go through this. Imagine being a teenager, you can't go to school, your parents can't find work. If you're a female, I mean, they keep you within the camp, they keep you within safety, because you never know what could happen in the camps, because of course there's going to be crime. It's hard to be a child during this time period, and these events don't disappear after this presentation. There's no like, oh, this presentation's over, good, let's move on to the next thing. These people live. They will, the genocides throughout our history, we remember them. And this history is so close to us. That's why it lives on so strongly, at least for me. Like, this was not a century ago. And anyways, children today are going through horrors that we read about in textbooks. And of course, generations and generations afterwards. So, why is it important to ask questions? Because throughout this presentation, we'll be asking ourselves hard questions, and I'm dragging a little bit, but it's not necessarily about finding the answers, because there aren't really clear answers to the things we are asking. What is genocide, but how do we prevent it? It doesn't seem like we know. It doesn't seem that there's a clear answer. I mean, what causes genocide? It's about attempting to understand a better future by studying the past, because all tragedy is in history, but all solutions to these tragedies can also be found there, because all progress and all failure, it's right there in history. So, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So, we have this as a tool when we study history. I think in many ways it can help us almost determine the seeds of genocide. Where did we start to violate these clauses that we believe are universal to all human beings? So it's a milestone for history of human rights. Representatives across the globe drafted this document on December 10th, 1948, 30 articles, a few of which we'll be reviewing, and inspired over 70 human rights treaties. It's a lot of human rights treaties. Now, this actual declaration is non-binding. It's not law. But it's important to know that it inspired law. The Geneva Conventions of 1949, for example, which provided actual standards that countries could agree to during wartime, protecting innocents, so maybe civilians, vulnerable citizens like the injured, the elderly, veterans. So it was this step forward. The Universal Declaration of Rights, Human Rights, was a tool given by the UN to help promote change. So, what happened just before 1948? Just answer that in your head. Okay, the answer, World War II. Why do you think this declaration came about? Okay, so I personally believe that this declaration came about because it followed 2 world wars. And at this point, I mean, the Holocaust had happened as well as many other genocides. And it's sort of this step forward, like, we've killed so many, we've suffered international world conflict. The next step is to protect people on an international level. So, we're going to a hard question. How do these articles apply to the Rohingya Genocide? So actually, this presentation originally had material, so it had like a a one-pager of information about the Rohingya Genocide, a checklist to go along with this, an exit ticket activity. I don't think you'll be provided with this, so we're just going to go through it presentation style. Let's go fast because time's ticking. Article 1, all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood. Do you believe that this was violated in the Rohingya Genocide? It's up to you. Ready? We're moving on. Everyone is entitled to all the rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration, without distinction of any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. Was this violated? Article 3. Everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of person. So as we go along, I'm starting to think of my own ideas. Okay, what happened to the Rohingya? What did I find that really struck me that made me think this is wrong? Can I find where it was violated? It's hard, but it's important to try to make the effort. Because remember, we want to be able to recognize genocide so we can prevent it. All right. Think. Where else in the world has genocide occurred? I want 5 examples. You can pause this. Write it down. I mean, a lot of us have learned about it in history class. So just try to think of 5 you learned about. I compiled multiple that I thought that you might have learned about before. So, ready? I'm going to move on. So we have the Holocaust, the Armenian Genocide, Rwandan Genocide, Cambodian Genocide, Nanjing Massacre, Holodomor. These are just a few examples. And I want you to look at this slide for a second. You have to pause it again. And I want you to think, okay, we need patterns in order to recognize genocide, right? What's the pattern? Do you see a pattern? We're all going to see different things. Maybe you won't see a pattern. I don't think genocide is as simple as patterns necessarily, but is there anything you see that might strike you and think, maybe that can help explain why these things happen. So, pause. I'm going to move on. All right. I personally thought genocide occurs during struggles for power and national turmoil, or war. If you look here, World War II, World War I, Civil War, political upheaval, Battle of Nanking, and then again, political upheaval. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Do you think this applies to the Rohingya Genocide? Just think about it to yourself. All right. The Rohingya Genocide happened simultaneous to a military coup. I don't remember if I vaguely mentioned that earlier. Yes, the Rohingya Genocide came after the democratic government was surpassed by the military coup. So in many ways, you could say that there might be political instability at the time. So we're going to move on we're going to go back to being detectives. We're going to go to Article 9. No one shall be subjected to arbitrary arrest, detention, or exile. I'm giving you a little hints with the highlighting. Just for this one, I'll mention that the Rohingya were exiled or pushed out of the country. As an idea, no one shall be subjected to arbitrary interference with his privacy, family, home, or correspondence, nor to attacks upon his honor and reputation. Everyone has the right to the protection of the law against such interference or attacks. Article 12. Everyone has the right to leave any country, including his own, and to return to his country. Okay. Everyone has the right to seek and to enjoy in other countries asylum for persecution. Think! Why does genocide occur? Okay, we're kind of getting to the closing questions now, which makes me glad because this presentation can drag. We have a document that states human rights, which inspired law and treaties that also protect human rights. We have international humanitarian aid. So why do we still have genocide? Hard questions. I don't have an answer. So why do you think this keeps happening? Just brainstorm. I mean, if you can find something close to an answer by the time this presentation is over, that's for you to think about. That's for you to hold on to. Originally, there was an exit ticket. So, Article 15, no one shall be arbitrarily deprived of his nationality nor denied the right to change his nationality. Okay, this is the last one. Everyone is entitled to a social and international order in which the rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration can be fully realized. Last question, guys. Why do we study history? It's a question. And it's a hard one. And I know it's hard. I sat through social studies classes and it was hard. I mean, history gives you a big headache in many ways. There's so much to know, so much that happened, wrong and right. It's hard to wrap your head around it. And this presentation is hard to give, and I'm sure it's twice as hard to listen to. So I know I had this question answered when I walked out of the Holocaust Museum and I saw the big lettering, Burma's Path to Genocide, under construction. I had to wait a year. History was happening. That's what really struck me. And I'd like you guys to find your own personal reason. Even unrelated to this entire presentation. I mean, why are you learning this history? What value comes from hearing other people's stories even when they're not your own, when you might not be able to relate to them? And I also just want to give an uncharacteristic thank you to the social studies department, the social studies teachers in every school ever. And they teach you history and things otherwise I might have never known. I wouldn't have known about this if it wasn't for the museum that I visited by chance. And when I heard that this is something that could be put, that would be put into history curriculums, I thought, wow. So I would have had the chance to learn about it, even if I didn't find it by chance. Thank you to them. All right, so there is no exit ticket. Sorry. It's just a thank you to you now. This is the end of the presentation. Thank you for listening. It's hard. It's hard to hear a story, especially when it's a sad one. It's hard. It's hard to sit this long. And I honestly have nothing else planned at this point, but I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for listening. If you're interested in learning more, you can always visit the Holocaust Museum online. They have the Burma's Path to Genocide exhibit online walkthrough, so you can go visit that. That's where the video was from. And I'm really glad I got this opportunity as a Girl Scout to tell you a little bit about the Rohingya Genocide. So thank you, and have a wonderful day.